overseas. So I'm very happy to be here. I hope that I will leave behind good information, friendship, kinship, all those things. I don't know more came to be because the grassroots people didn't have a voice. And there are 4 founders. There's me, Sheila McLean, Nina Wilson, and Jessica Gordon. When we first started, we wanted to reach people, and we're all educators. We're in a teaching capacity on various levels. And Sheila is a white woman. She's blonde, blue-eyed, can't be any whiter than her. Hey, not a drop of Indian. And Nina is from the Dakota Nation, and Jessica and I are from the Nihio Nation, the Nihio people. I'll tell you a little bit about my history as an indigenous person, and I'm here to speak the truth. My people believe in the law of truth. Tapuin, it's called Tapuin. There's a misconception out there that indigenous people are a lawless people. Before the Europeans came to colonize, they didn't come with the intent, I'm sure. But my people are very lawful people. Our laws are still there. You hear them in the lodges, you hear them in our language, you hear them in the land. I cannot separate myself from the land and the water. This is how come I don't know more came to be. I grew up under the imposition of a document called the Indian Act. I suggest all of you, when you have the opportunity, to look it up because it's still very much in place. You talk about apartheid in Africa. The apartheid, I tell you, is in Canada. The reason why I say that is when I was growing up, and I don't think I'm that old. I'm getting up there. And I grew up in that era where the sugar beet policy, it's called the sugar beet policy, is very well hidden in the Canadian history. And when I started talking about it, I was very surprised that there was not more people that knew about it. And yesterday, when I did the teach-in, I showed pictures of my family. We were forced to work in the fields in Alberta. They're called the sugar beet fields. They're huge fields. And they were right off the highways. There's people driving there. And I started working there when I was 6. And this is, Canada's history. And I wish that I had brought that document with me. I have written about that era. And there was children, indigenous children, working out in these fields. And we were all started when we were about 6 or 7. And we would start working like from 8 o'clock in the morning till about 10 o'clock at night. And there would be hundreds, sometimes I would even say thousands of indigenous children. And whole families would be sent to go and work in these fields. And it was all done under the Indian Act. There was also mass sterilization of indigenous women. And this gentleman mentioned it yesterday and reminded me of that. And this went on for long, long periods of time. Today, yesterday I was showing this card, and I'm pretty sure that the Canadian state, when they find out that I'm here, they will do everything to discredit me in the media, and I expect it, and I wait for it, but you know, there's nothing I can do about it. I lead quite a boring life, so they'd have to dig pretty hard. That's a card every Indian carries in Canada, and we're allowed to access certain services according to that card. There's benefits that come to it in return for our land, in return for certain things. Canada is built on a foundation of treaties that are tied to your monarch here. And this is one of the reasons why I'm here, to tell you. When the Constitution was repatriated in 1982, it was repatriated on the understanding that Canada would act honorably. And I'm here to tell you, they are not acting honorably. And you need to know that as citizens of your country. There's a bill that went through Parliament called Omnibus Bill C-45. There was hardly anything on it. But somebody tagged me on it. I have to backtrack a little bit. I am a lawyer. I am very fortunate to get that far, because as I told you, we were sent to the sugar beet fields. I started working there when I was about 6 or 7. So I never had a full year of education. We were always sent at the end of April. So we always missed May and June. And then we would come back in August. So in my mind, there were times when my parents did try to resist being sent to Alberta to go to work. They tried, but we have a large family, so it was difficult for them. And those times that they did go, they tried to resist. We went back to the land. And I remember in my memories those lands that we did go back to. So when I graduated from law school and I wanted to go home, it was those lands that I wanted to go back to. And in my mind, I was seeing them. And when I tried to go back, there was such a devastation in the land. And I have those documents to show the government, the Canadian state, the federal and provincial, intentionally would burn down the hunting cabins of my people, and they would block the roads that would lead to the hunting lands, intentionally, to keep us away from our lands, the hunting lands, the traditional lands. Today, my relatives that live in the Treaty 6 and the Treaty 8 territories are badly being affected by the tar sands. There are strange cancers coming out of that area. The animals cannot be eaten anymore, and my people still hunt. My people are primarily lactose intolerant because our bodies are not adjusted to the dairy products like the milk and stuff like that. We're not addicted to, we're not adapted to that. I'm addicted to ice cream. I love ice cream, but I can't have too much of it. So we still rely on the land a lot, especially our elders. They cannot tolerate the food that's being produced today. But now, because of what is happening in the land, we can't hunt in certain areas. and we no longer can access the medicines that we normally could. There are certain medicines that we make from the plants and from the land that requires fresh water. When I tried to go looking for the fresh water that was there when I remember as a child is gone. It's dried up. And so that scares me. And when Bill C-45 was put forward by the Canadian state, the omnibus bill is a huge bill. And again, I suggest that you look for it. You can find it now, but before you couldn't. Before Idle No More, you couldn't. It's a 450-page document with a bunch of bills in it. There was two things there that we were, actually about 3 or 4, but the primary ones are the Navigable Waters Protection Act. Before October, 100% of the water was protected in Canada. After the bill passed, it was introduced in Parliament on October 18th, and it passed on December 10th. December 12th, it passed. Today, Parliament resumed in Canada. Today, after it became law, only 1%, less than 1% of the water is protected in Canada now, which infringes on that treaty that in which Canada is based on, which also infringes on the human rights of Indigenous people, because we have to fish there. Our food is from this land. The lands in Canada are pristine. The waters are, you can still drink from the land. Now, because of Bill C-45, the environmental assessment, the threshold for it, has been lowered, and in some waterways has been removed totally. And there's another thing. I'm the first one to tell you to get rid of the Indian Act. No other Canadian is subjected to it, but the Indigenous people are. An example of the Indian Act is, if I leave a will, if I died tomorrow and I left a will, the Aboriginal Affairs Minister has the authority to change my will at his discretion, and will decide what is the best interest of how my will would be distributed. No other Canadian is subjected to that. And that's part of the Indian Act. With Omnibus Bill C-45, the Indian Act has been amended that the Aboriginal Affairs Minister can surrender my lands without my consent. The threshold of consent has been lowered, and it also gives the Aboriginal Affairs Minister the right to redesignate land, which means the redesignation of land will give the Aboriginal Affairs Minister jurisdiction and authority to designate certain portions of the land for nuclear waste storage. Now you're bringing the most poverty-stricken people side by side with nuclear storage in lands that are so pristine and beautiful and still not primarily untouched. And this is what I've come to tell you. I need your support. My water is sitting right there. I need some water. I'm sorry, it's difficult to talk about it. So, today, Idle No More. When we found out about Bill C-45, the 4 ladies and I, we said, we could not be silent. We couldn't be. And there's something in Canadian law, and this is the lawyer part of me. I told the other ladies, there's something called acquiescence. Acquiescence means your compliance is consent, which means your silence is consent. So I told them we cannot be silent. And I don't know, I am not an activist. I'm not an activist. I'm happy to bury myself in a book and forget about it. But I couldn't, not this time. There was just too much. It was enough. I couldn't, as an Indigenous person, be quiet about it. And so we've never met each other before, these ladies, but I started talking to Nina, and Nina started talking to Jessica, and then all of us decided that we weren't going to be quiet. And then I told them, I know this really nice white lady that knows how to make rallies. So I pulled Sheila into the conversation, and our chat room on Facebook was called We Weren't Going to Be Idle Anymore. And by the time Idle No More became really popular, we were calling our teach-ins Idle No More. And by the time we wanted to change the name, because activists were coming to us and saying, what are you saying? We were never idle. And we were like, no. We told them, we were being idle. We don't mean any dishonor to you at all. They were just insulted. We mean no dishonor. In fact, I think if it hadn't been for their work and the seeds that they planted everywhere, Idle No More wouldn't have happened the way it did. But apparently it's gone global. And we had hoped to reach Canada, but I'm very happy and humbled that it's reached the global community, because everyone can relate to water and the protection of water and the protection of land. And I'm here to share that the Canadian government is acting dishonorably on those treaties, and I think the London citizens have a right to know, because the media has not been kind to us. They've distorted everything, saying that we wanted more money. No, my people want the protection of the land and the water, because that's what our law says as Indigenous people, to protect it. Our laws as Indigenous people also tell us to be peaceful. Everything that we do, we must do in peace, because we are not only defending the Indigenous people, we're defending the children. We're also defending the tree nation, the plant nation, the water nation, all these different nations, because as my people believe, everything has a spirit and a life and must be honored likewise, like I would honor you as people. I would honor them the same way. So we cannot go forward with any kind of a violent action. Even our language, the language that the Creator has given us, we must honor it with gentleness and kindness and peace and love and respect. So I tell people, if you want to join Idle No More, then leave behind the historic injustices and join it for the love of all of our children and for the love of the land and the water. So that's what we ask. And I've come here to ask for your support, to let Stephen Harper know that he cannot do that. There's more bills. There's 8 for sure, approximately 13, that are going to be going through Parliament without the consent of Indigenous people. and some of them are worse than Bill C-45. The attack on water is done legislatively. When the snow melts, the corporations will look towards our water. The other bills are going to attack our lands, the protection of it. So Idle No More has to continue. It has to continue. And we've told the Harper government that the Harper government has told the media, oh, we want to work on the First Nations relations, the Indigenous relations, but they haven't done anything to repeal Bill C-45, and those bills will resume starting today. They will go through Parliament. So we've told the Harper government that as long as those bills are there, then Idle No More will continue. So today we had our worldwide Idle No More Day of Action. So all over Canada, there are rallies, there are teach-ins, there are flash mob round dances, and you won't hear about it. There's been a media blackout, but that's where the social media comes in. Facebook has done a great job as putting the word out there. So this is the message that I carry. And our allies are growing in Canada. Oxfam is supporting us. Amnesty International is supporting us. The UN knows. We've told them. So the UN is watching Canada. This is a human right issue. Everybody will be affected. Just like my environmental friends tell me, if something wrong with your foot, the rest of your body feels it. The largest bodies of fresh water are in Canada. So if something happens to that water, then it will affect everyone in the world. So I leave you with that thought, and I hope that you'll support us in solidarity, in unity, and in peace. In peace. Tapui, accept. So I thank you for listening to me and giving me the time. And I thank every one of you, and I shake hands with every one of you for coming here and listening to this. A lot of the information is online now. We were donated a blog, and it's www.idlenomore.ca. And yeah, when the snow melts, the corporations will begin to move. Because right now it's like minus 35 in Canada. It's bloody cold. When my cousin drove me to the airport, I had my big boots and my big parka, and she was telling me, I'm not driving you there like that. You're not going to London like that. So I came with a less warmer jacket. You have a beautiful country here. And my friends here took me to Hudson Bay here. If you go to the Hudson Bay Company, there's emblems there of the things that my people used. There's that headdress, an axe, and bow and arrows. And to see that kind of a wealth here in these huge, massive buildings while my people are in poverty disturbs me. So, and that building is getting refurbished. It's getting renovated. So I think my people are living in third world conditions. That is well documented as well. So you can go on the internet and look for that. Indigenous people have a difficult time securing jobs, and yet they're bringing in other people to work there. And they won't hire Indigenous people. So the indigenous people are suffering the highest rates of suicide, and indigenous women are missing and murdered at extraordinarily high levels. The Human Rights Commission has that information. There's so much happening. There's so much racism in Canada. I would again suggest to you, if there are any media releases in Canada, go look at it and then scroll to the bottom and see the comments that they make about Indigenous people, and you will see. So it's different for me to be here and not face any racism outright. It's a reprieve, yeah. But not all people are like that. There are allies there that are so beautiful. They're beautiful people, and more they're joining us, and that's through education and through teachings. So, and I have hope. That's one of the reasons why I'm here. People have called Idle No More a revolution, a seventh generation movement. I hope that it will continue to be driven with love, because love will sustain it more than any kind of a violent act. Our elders tell us that the greatest achievement a warrior, woman, or man can achieve, can do, or create is peace. Because anyone can be violent, anyone can create war. But the greatest thing you can do in times of crisis and chaos is to create peace. That's the highest level of achievement. So that's where Idle No More stands.